And so today, as it pertains to social media, there's three parts to what we're going to do today. We're going to focus on what's your message and who your target audience is. Those handouts that you have in front of you, you'll see they'll be relevant here in just a little bit. And then the plan, you got to have a plan, a strategy that connects you with your audience. And then how to post, like how to write posts, research hashtags, and then defining what success is. And so Amy's going to jump in, and then Shay will be up here in just a minute, but I just wanted to thank you again for being here. And we hope this is of value to you at the end of the day.
And why this is important to social media is that your social media is a tool, okay? And so you can use any tool to help your company or to hurt your company. And if you're not using the right words and you haven't established who your audience is, what kind of words you should be using, if you're not understanding the psychology of communication, then you can use that tool to hurt your company, or at the very least you're wasting your energy and your time because you're not using it as efficiently and as effectively as you could otherwise. Now the philosophy that we use with our clients as this foundation is called StoryBrand. Now you don't have to, of course, utilize this philosophy to have great social media, but this is what we use to lay the foundation, for like a strong company message to help you sift through how to talk about your company. Before we get into what these buckets and what this framework is that you've probably seen, you see a preview of it in your handout, but we believe that companies have wasted money, time, energy on marketing because we're focusing on aesthetics. You're going to invest in graphic designers, artists, so on and so forth, which you need to do, but not if you're sacrificing the words. So are you prioritizing the words and the strategy with those words as much as you are prioritizing the aesthetic, okay? Because the reality is that people buy products only after they read words that make them want to buy those products. Which, this impacts companies in general on your website and whatnot, but it is important as well with your social media. Again, how are you leveraging the words that you're using in your social media posts? But now, why is it that people are buying products after they read words that make them want to buy those products? The answer is the human brain. Our brains are designed to do two things. One, survive and thrive, and two, conserve calories. This means, to point one, that we're constantly scanning our environments to see what will help us survive and thrive. We note the food, we note maybe people in the room that we know or connections that we can make. We note our comfort, we note things that will help us succeed financially. Of course, this is defined differently for everybody, what survival and thriving looks like for you, but you're scanning your environment doing that. Okay, that's what our brains are doing. The problem, however, is that our brains are not infinite, they have limits, so your brain is trying to make these quick decisions, okay, while also conserving calories. So what that means is if you're not positioning your company and your message, anything you're posting, anything you're writing clearly and concisely, really paying attention to what you're saying, then you're going to lose to the companies that are. You're going to lose to the companies that are making a very clear case, that are communicating very simply and concisely, because since our brains are trying to survive and thrive and do that efficiently and quickly, they're going to go to the products or the services that have positioned themselves in very clear terms. Okay, and that, of course, the risk in that and what is of consequence to your customers, they might be going to, like Patrick said, an inferior product because they're making a quicker decision. So don't limit, your product or your service if you believe in what you're doing. Don't put a threshold on who can encounter it because you have not positioned it in a way, that strategically connects with your customers. We encounter about 4,000 to 10,000 ads a day, okay? And anytime then we are adding confusing information to what we're talking about, It's like our audience's brain is on a treadmill. You can think of it that way, in terms of like conserving calories. So anytime you're presenting information, telling someone, what you're doing, who your company is, you're tacking on all this information. It's like their brain is on a treadmill trying to process all of that. And we can handle maybe one bowling ball of information, maybe 2 bowling balls of information, maybe 3, okay? But once you've overloaded someone with information because you think, oh, I need to tell them everything right now that my company or my service does, then they're going to drop all of the bowling balls and they're going to drop all of that information. This is why you have to be very particular about what information you want to give people and when, because we can only intake and process so much information at one time. In short, if you confuse, you'll lose, but fortunately, we have story, okay? Story is an age-old sense-making device. We don't have to reinvent the wheel on what is the best way to hold people's attention. How should we talk about our company? How do we engage people? How do we enter into someone and hold their attention? Because we have story. In our brains, we spend about 30% of our days daydreaming unless we are somehow engaged in a story. That's why you can sit in a movie theater for 2 hours and hardly daydream. You can read a book for a long period of time with minimal daydreaming. It's because our brains are wired to process information through story. And then you'll see this sheet on your in front of you. We have this filter that we like to use with our clients to help them define the messages and help them to distill what their company does, who their audience is, and the problems they solve, so on and so forth, using this filter, which is based off of the elements of story. And Shay, when she comes up here next, is going to show how all of these buckets are relevant to your social media and how you can use these buckets that I'm about to discuss, and how you can use these buckets to inspire your social media posts, to add variety to your social media posts, to hit maybe different personalities with your social media so that you have something that resonates with different types of people. Because at the end of the day, stories are formulaic. So movies, books, TV shows, they're all going to run through these different buckets. Of course, they do them in different ways, based off of the length of the material that they're creating. But as we go through this, I think you'll be able to see, oh yeah, stories do this all the time. We just didn't realize it because we didn't have the language. So every story begins with a character. Okay, the character is what drives the story. Now, a difference between how we view marketing and how more traditional marketing, like Patrick was talking about, the spotlight marketing, is that we believe that the main character is not your company, but it's your audience, okay? It's your customer. Your customer is your character in the story, and you want to enter into their story. And your social media is great because that is how you can nurture and engage people, and it's a wonderful way to enter into someone else's story. Not invite them into yours, okay, but enter into theirs. And how do you do that, though? You have to know what your customer wants. When you agitate a customer's desire, they enter into the story your brand is telling. That means you have to identify what it is that they want. Who do they aspire to be? What is their life like? What do they want to achieve as it pertains to the product or service that you're offering? What can go wrong here, and you can see this in movies, stories, and a convoluted story, is that they've identified too many things that a customer or a character wants. Okay, if Jason Bourne wanted to adopt a cat, run a marathon, do a variety of things, then you're going to lose your audience. The story's no longer interesting. We know exactly what he wants. And that's what makes the story compelling. And you have to identify a want that is generic enough that it encompasses your whole brand, but specific enough that it's relevant to most of your target customers. You're not going to be able to find something that matches 100%, of your audience, but there should be something that the majority of your customer base is seeking, what they want as it pertains to who you are. Okay? But no story gets going until there's a problem. The problem is what hooks the story. That's where the story begins. Okay, so what problem, so you know what your character wants, what problem do you solve that is getting in the way of what they want? Okay, so if you stop talking about your customers' problems, they stop paying attention to your brand. This doesn't mean if you stop talking about your customers' problems every minute of every day, but just means with regularity. Are you reminding your customers the problem that you solve for them? The problem creates a hook. It catches people's attention like any conflicts. What makes people interesting, are the things that they're going through, right? It's the same concept here. So the problem sets the hook, and it creates, some anticipation. Like, okay, so they know who I am, they understand me, so I've automatically built a layer of trust because they know who I am, they know what I want. Ooh, they know that I have this problem. Now can they help me solve this problem? But who's going to help them solve this problem? And this has happened in literature, movies, throughout centuries, is a guide is inserted, and that's your company. Okay, the guide is the Yoda or the Obi-Wan to Luke Skywalker. It's the wise soul there who knows what who knows what the hero of the story wants and is helping them get there. Okay, so you're the guide. Your customer is the hero of the story, not your brand. You're the guide. And you can learn more about the facets and the elements of what it means to be a good guide in this book that we're giving away, or
that's my cue, sorry.
in this book. And then on some of the resources that we listed on one of the handouts, and then of course these are services that we offer as well as taking clients through this. But you can do it on your own, learn more about this through some of these resources. We know who the customer is, we know what problem they have that makes you relevant, and then they're starting to trust you because you've displayed so much empathy and you have the right credentials. But they're not having to make any decisions yet. This is the first moment where there's risk, because are they going to engage with you or are they not? You can help them make a quick, easy decision to engage with your services by giving them a quick, easy 3-step plan. Okay, so what they want seems very complicated, but you just simplify it for them. Say, number 1, download the software. Number 2, take a quick tutorial. 3, enjoy the results. That is like a very oversimplified oversimplification of a complicated process, but our brains like simple. We want things to seem easier than they are, and it's going to make it easier for your customer to engage. Then number 5, clearly call them to action. Tell them what it is you want them to do. Unless you clearly call people to action, they won't take action. So for example, your website, they should have a clear CTA button on there. What do you want people to do when they've arrived at your site? You don't have to be shy. If you're proud of what you're doing, then be confident in asking people to engage in your services. And all of these are different buckets that we use to inspire social media posts. So, one post a month might be directly calling people, to purchase whatever it is that you're selling. And then we end with this dichotomy of success versus failure. If nothing can be won or lost because of doing business with you, then what's the point of your business, right? So you highlight, you remind people of the successes that come as a result of doing business with you. Customers want us to cast a vision of what their lives can look like if they use our products or services. This is a great time, to remind people of the benefits that they weren't even thinking of. Like a deeper, long-term benefits and short-term benefits. So you give people something that they're striving toward. What makes this story interesting is that you want something good for that hero, for the protagonist of the story. And if they don't get that good thing, we're going to be so sad for them, right? Conversely, we don't want them to fail. Okay, the story is generating intrigue and traction because we know that there's something really sad on the other side, of this if they don't accomplish their mission. And it's the same here. You can remind your customers what consequences they stand to continue to endure, or what future failures might happen if they don't do business with you. And similar to the problem, you don't want to talk about this so much that you become a fear mongerer, that you create anxiety where there should not be anxiety, but you sprinkle this in sometimes. And you're not making anything up, right? If you have integrity and honesty and like, no, my product legitimately will save you from this, then you can tell people that. Don't, this isn't time for like fiction, of course, but remind people of your value. So a quick summary, what do your customers want? What are their external, internal, and philosophical problems? So this problem section fleshes out a little bit, and you can learn more about that in the resources. Have we positioned our brand as the guide to the hero, not the hero? Have we created a clear plan for the hero to win the day? Are our calls to action clear? Have we helped our hero imagine how we can improve their lives? Have we identified the consequences we're helping them to avoid? So these are all the questions that we talk through with our clients. We create a narrative for them, and this is a good foundational message that they can use to pivot off of to create interesting, diverse social media content. And this is what this is an online version of the sheet that we provided. You can also access this online version and create your own brand scripts for different products, or if you have different departments within your company, you can go online and do the same thing as that sheet here at mystorybrand.com, and you can sign in and start creating your own brand scripts to help you with your messaging. Now Shay Cannell is going to come up here after we switch our microphone.
So Amy mentioned that we're giving away a book. If you didn't put your business card in, maybe we can pass around the bowl for people that came in late. This is the Building a Story Brand book by Donald Miller, and it's good for DIYers and just gives you a good overview of StoryBrand. Obviously, we've been certified in it because we strongly believe in it, and we can help you understand it even more, and help you put it into action. Okay, so I have a question. How long would you think, from scratch, it would take to build a strong social media presence? How many days or months? What would be your guess? 2 years. Yeah. Okay, that's good. So at least you're not coming in here saying like, okay, in 2 weeks I'm going to have so many followers and be, trending. And so we tell clients that we would like at least 6 months of consistent messaging, consistent posting, using our StoryBrand buckets to build their social media. And I think 6 months is a good starting point. And then it also, requires actions on the client's part, where they need to be following new accounts and responding in a timely manner and things like that are outside of this presentation. But those are all just good business practices as well to make sure you're responding and reactive to your social media. So let's see, where'd you put the clicker, Amy? Okay, so I'll keep going. But so I am going to, my first part I'm going to talk is about planning, which is great for, this is what we do for clients, and every day just brings up different things. So if you have a social media plan, then you're more likely to follow through with it and post on a regular basis. You're more likely to hit the StoryBrand buckets that Amy talked about as well. So parts of planning is considering the anatomy of a good, successful social media post. So we start thinking about the copy, the words, the text of a social media post, and also the images, and then also all the different ways to increase engagement on your social media account. So we'll talk about those. These are just some quick tips for y'all to consider as you're thinking about the copy, which is the text of your social media. You want to be seen as generous to your target audience. So some people think like, if I give them all these tips, then I'm going to be devaluing my company or my product, then they can just do it all themselves. But it's actually the opposite. And if you are generous with your expertise and your knowledge, then you gain their respect and they see the authority that you have and the knowledge, and they tend to, enjoy following your posts more, interact with it more, and you get more engagement when you're generous with your wisdom. Also, as StoryBrain talks about, you definitely want to put the customer first, which is a lot of switching out your language to talk about the word you, as in the target audience, instead of we as the company. So make sure when you're writing posts, it says you instead of we. And also, so this is an example of one of our social media posts for 1440. And you can see we just gave suggestions on how to grow a business, and the copy is valuable to the target audience and engaging, and it resulted in shares because people thought it was good advice that they wanted to share with their followers. So if you can be generous and engaging, then people find the value and you'll reach more through shares. All right, so everybody should have one of these handouts, and it's front and back. So the front, it would help with a social media 1-month plan. In the back are the message categories that Amy went through for StoryBrand. So while content and the writing of the post really is key, planning is very helpful to be consistent and to keep your target audience engaged and growing. So as you know, social media, or as you may not know, social media is completely driven by algorithms, and so being consistent with timing and making sure you're creating content that is engaging will help keep your company, increase your company's presence in front of the audience that you're trying to reach. So after we present, we're going to ask for questions, and we can go over the message categories. If you have a specific question about your business, we can give relevant information for industries. Come on in. Okay. All right, so besides text and copy, the second most critical piece is images. So there's a statistic that says if someone hears something or reads something, 3 days later, only 10% of people will remember what they heard or read. But if an image is associated with the same information, then that is increased to 65%. So images are really critical on social media. People are scrolling, and if it doesn't have a captivating image, they'll just scroll right past it. So we never post anything without an engaging image. We highly recommend that. And the good news is that you don't have to be an artist to create these images. There's several online tools that can help you create images and content to use with your posts. And I have a few that I can share with y'all. So you can jot these down if you are looking for some good apps. But for iPhone photos, we love to edit them and make sure the colors pop and are vibrant and eye-catching. So a couple that we use are Tezza, T-E-Z-Z-A, and Vosco, which is V-S-C-O. They're both available for purchase on the App Store for a minimal fee. When you are editing photos, a good rule to remember is the rule of thirds. Let's see. There we go. So this is a photo we took for a food industry client. So you can see the grid marks in these photo editing apps. You want the focus of the image to be at the intersection of one of the grid lines. It draws people's eye, and it just creates an attractive image as well. So instead of centering the image or making sure it's right in line, the rule of thirds is something important to remember when you're taking photos for your social media. Some other great tools that are online are Canva. Has anyone used Canva? Or Adobe Spark is a similar one. Stencil is another one that's a free graphic design tool online. Stencil, and Canva, C-A-N-V-A, and then Adobe Spark as well. So those are all, you can create graphics using photos you've already taken, or just text-only graphics as well. Lively is the name of another online tool, and it animates photos. So you can make live photos into GIFs or movies. And the importance of all these tools is to create diversity and variety in your type of images, videos and photos and graphics. If you have variety, then your content will stay diverse and your audience will stay interested and not get bored of seeing the same type of content over and over. So last one that I've come across is called Video Shop, and it's one of the top mobile video editing apps. So it's all one word, Video Shop. You can trim, combine, edit the speed of videos that you just take on your iPhone, and it's really, user-friendly. You can add your logo and overlap short clips with music, all on an app on your phone. All right. So next question. Who has a suggestion of a way to increase engagement? Or who knows of some good ways to increase engagement on your social media posts? What are some tips that you can just throw them out there?
Ask a question.
Ask a question is a great way, because the more people you have commenting on your social media posts, the higher it'll get up in the algorithms.
Be engaged on others.
Yep, be engaged on other social media accounts, and make sure you're commenting under the business name, the business account.
Do like raffles or giveaways.
Yep, that's a great one. We do that for clients as well. And so you can have people, when you're doing giveaways, you can have people tag friends or just like your page. It depends on what your campaign goal is, but those are all great ways. So another way is to schedule posts where you can tag people or other companies, because the more companies or people you have tagged in a post, the more eyes will see the post as well. It increases your reach. So if BBB posts about 1440 marketing and tags us, or even tags Patrick, it will increase their reach because more people will see it. So consider tagging companies and people. One thing to add to the images, if you can include life in your images, those will engage much more people. They like to see life. So even just a simple hand, so they can envision, or they can put themselves into the photo more. So you can see yourself picking up this lettuce wrap, or a photo of a client eating an ice cream cone, or not a client, for a client of a kid eating an ice cream cone is more engaging than just an ice cream cone on its own. So the more you can insert life into your photos and your images, the more engaging that will be as well. Lastly, another way to increase engagement is to offer like insider content and exclusive content, so that your audience feels like they're special and that they're getting a special treatment. So this could be like behind the scenes tips, fun facts about a team member, introducing a new team member or highlighting a special that's only on your social media so that they have to follow it to get, the insider information. All right, so basically when we are planning out our social media for our clients, we do follow a monthly calendar like this. We make it specific for clients, but this would be a good example of a 1-month calendar based off the defined customer that you create in your story brand. We plan for a variety of content and images. And then we use the 80-20 rule. Amy touched briefly on this, but in our social media, we try to only do 1 or 2 posts a month that are sales oriented or have call to actions. If you're hitting up your customers too often, selling to them, then it'll turn them off. They think you're just wanting instead of being generous with your wisdom and expertise. All right, so next, the third part, and how are we doing okay on time, Coleman?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, this part doesn't take us long, but so there are some logistics to consider when you're scheduling your social media posts. This third handout is a checklist, and I'll cover some of the items on here as well. And we could ask questions at the end too if you have specific questions. So we have, so obviously you want your content, your post to be relevant and timely. So consider holidays. You want to consider what's going on in the world, what people are interested in. There's a website that we found that you can go to, and you can type in your industry name and it'll tell you what people are interested in and asking about for your industry. So you can jot this down. It's called answerthepublic.com, and it's a great website to give you blog content ideas, social media post ideas, specific to your industry as well. So, frequency. Who would guess, who can throw out how often would be like a good basis for Facebook? How often would you want to post on Facebook? Any other guesses? Okay, you could do daily as long as you're keeping your audience engaged and you have a large audience. You could do daily. We recommend 3 times a week for Facebook, and as long as you're making sure the posts are relevant, they talk to your customer. So 3 times a week for Facebook. For LinkedIn, we recommend 1 to 3. Keeping in mind that it has to be relevant. If you're not engaging your followers, then that will drop. You'll drop in the algorithm. So it's more important to make sure you have good posts and good content than making sure you hit the frequency, a higher frequency. And then for Instagram, it's a little more forgiving as far as how frequent you can post. So, 3 to 5 times a week for Instagram is great. And make sure you're considering stories, the Instagram stories as well. And Instagram Reels is a new thing that Instagram released last year, and they are promoting it very well themselves. So if you posted a reel, it gets promoted way more than just a post or a story because they are trying to boost that side of their business themselves. So if you're on Instagram and not doing reels, it's a great thing to look at. And it's pretty simple, intuitive, self-intuitive. Okay, and then timing is another thing to consider when you are posting. So for Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, they vary a little bit, but overall you can kind of consider when you would be scrolling your social media. But for Facebook, it's mostly after lunch. So like after your lunch break, when you're getting back to the office, like, hey, what did I look at? So it's like 1 to 4 p.m. for Facebook. And then again in the evening from 6 to 10 p.m. is good Facebook times, peak times for Facebook, and especially on the weekdays. On Instagram, it's actually the lunch hour, lunch break. Instagram, you can scroll through a lot faster. Facebook usually has longer posts where people take their time. They're more intentional on Facebook, but on Instagram, people just will scroll through quickly at lunch breaks. And again, towards the end of the day, maybe they've gotten the kids in bed or are finally settling down on the couch and they'll scroll again. So for Instagram, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. is another peak time. And then for LinkedIn, it's a little shifted to workday time. So it's 8 to 10 a.m. is a peak time for LinkedIn. So think about an employee getting to the office. They check their LinkedIn profile for networking opportunities, and then again towards the end of the day from 4 to 6 p.m. So lastly, for posting, another thing obviously to consider is hashtags. So when we add hashtags to a client's post, we consider 3 things. One is industry-specific hashtags. So we usually, when we take on a social media client, create a list of top industry-specific hashtags. So you can actually add yours to our checklist. Keep a running list. We keep ours like on a Google Doc for that client, so it can easily be pasted in. But then in addition to that, you want to consider post-specific hashtags. So for example, for that lettuce wrap photo that we showed earlier, you could do one that said hashtag lettuce wraps or hashtag Asian cuisine, or make it specific to the post so it doesn't look like it's copied over from post to post and identical. And all of the platforms appreciate when you add additional hashtags instead of just duplicating them from post to post. And lastly, you can just add the top trending hashtags for any industry. So it would just take a quick Google search. We use tools for our clients, but there are apps and services where you can locate the top trending hashtags. But if you just add a few of these, sprinkle them in, people will search and you'll gain new followers through those hashtags. Does anybody have any questions about your specific social media or story brand and the buckets?
Sorry I'm late, and I looked at my calendar on the notes and it started at 11:30. So I do a lot of political posting, and a lot of it I can't get boosted.
Okay.
So it's saying it's blocking it, and I'm not really sure why.
Yeah.
I've gone through some of the verifications.
Yep.
But love some help with that.
Okay. So we'd have to see the specific content you're trying to boost.
It's not crazy
Yeah.
type stuff.
You can, if we can have your contact information,
Mhm.
then
Okay.
we can talk
Yeah.
to, we have
I'll give you ours
our
too.
expert
Do you have a
on
card?
digital ads.
Oh, yeah, okay.
We have our expert on digital ads here.
Yeah, so-
We'll investigate that.
Yeah, we have a digital marketing manager that handles the targeted digital for all of our clients, and he would know why maybe that they're not allowing you to boost your post. So I'll reach out to you and follow up.
That'd be great.
Yeah, sure.
We run into that a little bit with like real estate and different industries
Yeah.
have their own set of rules
And we didn't talk about boosting posts because this is more of an organic social media presentation, but when you are considering what posts to boost, I think the main question is not what post to boost, it's what is the goal of this post? So is it to drive website visitors? Is it to get more followers on your social media account? So you need to think about which posts would help you meet that campaign goal. So is it to make more sales on this product? So the posts that you should boost should answer those questions, if that makes sense.
Do you pay to boost your posts?
We haven't had to yet as a marketing agency, but we do for all of our clients,
Yeah,
yes.
most of our clients have a certain ad spend that our digital marketing manager manages. So we learn the goals. If we're that client of you know, whatever their goal is for their social media account, and then we boost posts accordingly.
Yes.
A lot of times we'll boost a post, correct me if I'm wrong, that has done well organically, you know, so if it's done really well, or if it's, you know, one of these rare, you know, here's a special we're offering, we might boost that.
Yeah. You could also create, so yes, we do boost posts for clients, but we also create targeted ads on social media for clients too that we write specifically for an ad with a campaign purpose. So there's a difference between boosting posts, which we do as well, and creating a targeted ad on social media. So we do both of those for our clients depending on the goal of what they're.
So if we have a Facebook page,
Yeah.
is the only people seeing it that the people have liked it?
Yes, unless someone shares it or you tag people or tag companies, yes, no one will see your Facebook posts unless it gets, that's why increasing engagement is so important through creating compelling content that people want to share or tagging people in it. So that's how you get more eyes on it than just your followers.
And then every person who likes it, you should invite them to like your page too, right?
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes. So when it does get shared, you'll get likes from non-followers, and then you should follow up and ask them to like your page.
Yeah, because you can easily see on that list of people who've liked it, it normally will have a button next to that person's name saying, you know, invite, or, you know, something putting into it there.
Yep.
Make it easy for you to see who has liked a post, who has not liked your page yet.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I haven't.
No, it's great.
What industry are you?
We're air conditioning.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot of customers this week, or last week, called and said, oh, you're highly recommended on the highway district. So is there a way to be connected into that page too? Or
You could,
So it's a private group probably, the Hideaway. That depends on the admin rules probably. They may have a rule that you have to live in Hideaway.
and like
But that's great that you're
and like
being recommended.
with heat and air, you know, this is probably a good time of the year to do some of those nurturing posts, like reminders for, you know, it's going to get cold. Have you checked out this with your, you know, your heater, or, you know, like all just seasonal. This is a great time of the year to like give some seasonal tips as it relates to heating and air. You know,
Yeah.
because you can be more efficient.
Yeah.
All of that. So you know,
Here's some small things you could do to make sure your heater is ready to be up and running.
wisdom?
Make sure you're brushing away the leaves that are falling on top of all of our AC units.
I'll add that too. If they're tagging you and you can see the reviews, promote the reviews. Hey, check out what our friends in Hideaway are saying
Yeah.
about us. You know, some self-congratulations is not always terrible.
Yeah,
Right? Like some people take it overboard, like you were talking about. Like,
yeah,
but if they're tagging you and it's a public post or something that you can then share back, do it. Hey, check out what is being said about us. If you'd like more information, call us. Right? Call us and we can help you, etc. Don't be afraid to self-promote. We do it. Anytime
Yep.
somebody tags us, heck yeah, thanks a lot.
yeah.
and,
Appreciate it.
you know, a good way, like, so if you have like a strong testimonial like that, then you can still frame it a little more to like get into your customer story, because you can say things like, this customer, you know, that when they have, you can make it more specific, like when they have problems, this customer is someone who took control of their, you know, energy in their home and did this. You know, so then
Yeah.
you're sneaking in like that, the phrase of somebody, but you're still saying they, you know, empowered themselves by, you know, making this change, by getting
Yeah.
this fixed, by getting this repair.
And you're educating your customers at the same time that they should be being proactive like this customer was.
Well, like a couple of weeks ago, little 6-year-old, the mother brought him by, and he had put thank you and drew hearts, and so I put it on our page.
Nice.
I don't post on our
Yeah.
at all, which
But that's the perfect content when it's about life. You got a little person, thank you, like, and it's just nice, it's sweet to look
Yeah.
at.
it was, it's hanging on my wall.
But that is a terrific, like, human touch
Right.
kind of life post.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's so happy that his, you know, so-and-so adult in his life whatever service they got.
Yeah.
You know?
Can you talk about the algorithm? So let's say you were really good at posting 3 times a week and then you didn't post the next week at all. How does that bring you up and down in the algorithms?
Well, the algorithms are changing like constantly. So the most important thing is to be consistent with your branding that you create, your messaging, and then with your frequency. Yes. So usually I spend Monday mornings scheduling client social media for the week so that we hit all the peak times and that we hit the frequency they need to stay in front of their customers' eyes and stay top of mind. So if you aren't posting, if your frequency drops, then you're going to drop. So, and also if the content is not engaging, you'll drop as well.
And one reason on speaking to the consistency of message, why it's so important, since algorithms are so unstable and shifting, the more consistent you are with, what problems you solve and who your customer is, and using those language, using the consistent. I mean, this does not mean like repeat the same post every week, but be moved by the same ideas and concepts, because I think the stat is you have to read something maybe 8 times before you remember it. But that means that you have to get in front of your customer that many more times, because they're not going to read it every time you put something in front of them. So the more consistent you are, you think, okay, if I want my customers to know one thing about my company, you have to repeat that over and over, because they're not going to get it every single time you say it. You have to get in front of them often, and you have to control that message, because you don't control when they're looking at your page. You don't have control over what posts of yours they're seeing. So what you can do is control the words that you're using. So when they do come to your page, you know that they're seeing what you want them to see. If you can tell them one thing,
Yeah.
you can tell them like 5 things about your company. Keep recycling, that philosophy, so that they know, know what you want them to know about you. Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Yeah.
In regards to that recycling, is it best to recycle something that somebody's seen before? Say there's like this post that you generally do once a month, once a quarter, or is it better to diversify that same information where it's different colors, different fonts, different images, but same text? What statistically or historically that you guys have seen is best?
I wouldn't recycle once a month, but you could go back 6 months and look at your top posts, and I would freshen them up. So that could look like tweaking the copy so it has a fresh feel, and consider, it depends on if it was a good photo or a good graphic that was engaged with, then you might want to consider reusing and recycling it exactly. But people aren't going to remember a post from like 6 months ago. So I wouldn't do once a month. That'd probably be too soon. But yeah, and if you can freshen up at least the text and the copy, I would. Yeah.
Yeah, just finding new ways to package the same concepts.
Yeah.
Say them differently. Like with the testimonial example. So we talked about this success bucket, which is transformation that a customer will receive after using your product. Okay, you can easily hit on that concept of success by sharing a testimonial. Like this is what happens when you make these repairs or get this unit or whatever with the heat and air. But then you can also do another day, 5 things you should be getting from your air conditioner. Look for these 5 things. You should, expect your energy bill to decrease. It's more energy efficient. You should, just like list these 5 things, which are also successes that people get. But see, so you just take these concepts that you have consistent, like, okay, yeah, I've jotted down 20 successes on my page here on my sheet. And then, just go to those sometimes. Think, okay, could I package this with a testimonial share? Can I package this with a helpful list? Can I package this, you know, how cool was your Friday? And, you know, just make something kind of fun. I don't know. Right.
So this is kind of a how much is too much question. I'll stop in the day, check a lot of news feeds and things like this, and I want to repost that on our site to pass that information on. Not really a specific purpose in it other than, hey, this is a really good article to read. But I might see 3 or 4 at a time that are all really good. And put them all up at the same time, space it out.
So how are people engaged? My question is, how are people engaging on those shares? Are people liking them, or are you getting engagement on the shares?
Yeah.
Okay, you are?
Yeah, but some are better than others.
Yeah, so I would pay attention to which ones are getting more attention. And I would space them out.
Well, so we talked about at the beginning of this concept of people can only process so much information at once. They can like hold one bowling ball of information and maybe 2 and 3, but then if you give them people too much information, then they check out because we're confronted with so many ads, so much content every single day that people are drawn to what's easy for them to understand. So, if you're even sharing an article or something that you found, I think it would be helpful, and you could try this, is in that post, hey, here are 3 of my favorite takeaways from this article. So then it becomes easier. You're doing the scanning for them, and then you are also in control of what you want them to take away from that article. So, you're saying, or here's my top takeaway from this article.
Right.
And then that will help people even read the article, or they may not, and they may just be glad that you summarized this good content for them.
Right. So instead of just being my mother-in-law that shares a lot of cat photos, if I saw your reshare that was an article, but you told me why it should matter to me, and I could read 2 sentences on why this article would apply to me, then that would increase your engagement on your shares. Yeah.
On the apps Tom mentioned, have you ever found one app that does everything besides having to have several and going back and forth?
No, not really.
So you use Canva mostly for...
Canva and Adobe Spark do most, they edit photos and you can create graphics on them. So I'd look at those. But as far as even phones can do so much as far as editing a video, and you can clip off, the beginning or the end and make it the right length. So even your phone can be a great tool.
I personally really like Canva. I feel like, maybe this is just my own bias, but I feel like Canva is a little bit more accessible for people who aren't used to using Adobe products. I feel like I'm using Adobe Spark, and then it has a different feel, like, oh, I should be also using Adobe Photoshop, and it just feels a little more intimidating. I think Canva is good.
And all of them have great templates to search for. You can search for, fall sale, and it'll pull up seasonal templates where you can plug in your product, or so they're all very template based.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Okay. Let's give some. Where's my bucket?
And we have our cards up here. If anybody has questions, you can email us. If you have a specific question for your industry or your company, just shoot us an email. We're happy to give out. We want to be generous with our expertise and knowledge too. So follow up with us.
All righty, we are going to draw for the book. Miss Abby, would you like to draw a card for us? Come on up. Come on up there. Would you like to pick one out of the bucket? Am I terrifying? I get that look sometimes. You want to pick one out. Any one you want. The prettiest one. Okay. Let me see that. Okay, so the winner of our book, Miss Deborah Reniker from Insight Therapy of Texas. All right. They are a licensed clinical social worker. Social
Yay.
person.
But this is the name of the book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. So, Amazon or bookstore. That's awesome.
Also,
enjoy
we
reading it.
appreciate y'all coming. I always try to take one or two things out of here to relay, right? Like headline, summarize. Always use pictures and video, right? Those are the keys. Always use pictures and videos. And like in our case, we ask for testimonials. Don't be afraid to ask. Leave us a review on Facebook. Tag us when you're happy with our product. Give us a testimonial. That's the best way to help promote your business. Next time you build a house, hey, say that Byron Paul built this house. Check him out. Like, it's really that next time Habitat does something, check them out.
Yep.
So every time, don't be afraid to ask for them. That's what I would say.
Yeah, and to add on to that, we actually will write testimonials for clients. We'll can we contact this customer? We'll ask them a few questions and we'll get their approval on the testimonial that we write as well. So, have the courage to do that to make sure you're getting quality testimonials when you've done the job right and have a happy customer. Yeah, but you know when that is. Yep.
Other than that, a couple other things. I know people got a jet here. Come on, clicker. I gotta turn it on first. Come on. The clicker died. There's only so much the battery can take. Thank you very much. We only have 2 more left in the entire year, which is strange. The year has really flown by. Our next lecture will be October 12th. That's actually a Tuesday, so just make a mental note if you'd like to come. Kimberly Lewis, if y'all know Miss Lewis, she's the CEO of Goodwill Industries. She is a fantastic woman. She is an amazing, just everything terrific. Well, she has written a book. She's written a book, and she's going to go over the book with us and then go through the important topics and whatnot in the book. So she will be here October 12th. Remember, that is a Tuesday. She had a scheduling conference for Monday. And since she's the author, it was probably better that we let her do that. A couple of other things. Rebecca kind of touched on it. We are actually hosting business after hours for the Chamber. A lot of people have this misconception that BUD and the Chamber are supposed to be some sort of rivals. Well, that's not the case at all. We want to work together. And so we are actually hosting the, did I spill everything? I think so. We're actually hosting the business after hours. If you're a member of the Chamber, you've probably already been invited. If not, consider this your invitation. It will be here from 5 to 7, Thursday, September 23. So that's a week. That's next week. I'm going to say a week from Thursday. That's next Thursday. So you're welcome to that. And if you're going to happen to be in one of these 3 locations in October, we are shredding documents and destroying things for free. For those of you who know, we do one here in Tyler. We had like 600 cars roll through back in April or May. We're going to be doing them again. All these can be found on our website where I go and look, and it says very clearly what we do. So that's the point of there. Go to your website. If people don't know what you do on your website, you have a bad website. So these things are happening. Other than that, they'll all be listed. We'll be sending invitations out per the normal. Last request, please take all this food out of here. No, y'all are laughing. Grab one to go. Grab one to go. And everyone's cards are up here. Patrick, Kyle, Amy, and Shay's cards are up here. We appreciate y'all. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe with the storms.